Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? It's me, Mr. 4K Upscaler. There's something interesting I found out on FIFA 18 demo for PlayStation 4 Pro, which is 84K in HDR. And what I'm talking about basically is a calibration that's built into FIFA 18, courtesy of EA Sports. And I'm going to show it to you really quick. So what I'm going to do basically, it's on this TCL 55-inch P605 model, which is HDR and Dolby Vision. I'm going to go ahead and utilize EA Sports calibrating software that's built into it. Alright, so there it is right here. And I'm going to show you really quick what I'm talking about. Let me just move my camera a little bit away from here, and I'm going to show it to you. Let me go ahead and click right here on the settings. And it says right here, I mean, you can't miss it. It's right here. It says video calibration. So I highly recommend that you use this. I think every game should have this. I think it would be very cool if a lot of these games had their own calibration built into it. That would be kind of cool. So let's click the video calibration. Alright, so here we got the brightness. It says, adjust the brightness of your display until you can see the EA logo without the black drop shadow behind it. So we have to adjust the brightness until you can see the EA logo without the black drop shadow behind it. So we're not supposed to see this black drop shadow behind it, okay? That's what we need to do here in order to calibrate it. So we're not supposed to see that. What they basically mean by this, not to see the shadow behind it, like the outline shadow right here, drop shadow, which is behind it. It's so that way your deep dark levels are not crushed. So what we're gonna do here, we're going to go to advanced picture settings. We're going to go to our brightness. And we're going to keep adjusting it till we can't see it anymore. Let's see. That's interesting. Without the black drop shadow behind it. So what they mean is, what they mean is this. What they mean is they don't want you to see the black drop shadow behind it, which is this right here. So let's move it up a little bit. But to me, this looks, let's see. Okay, 55. I think 55 is good here. It looks reasonably good here. So 55, I would leave it at 55, honestly. 55. Let's go ahead and, hold on. Let's see what else they got here. So this looks good to me at 55. So I felt like going way above, it's too much. So at 55 here, it's perfect. So let's leave it at 55. Okay? 55 seems to be reasonable. Now let's adjust the hue of your display by the colors. Look, white, yellow, cyan, green, magenta, red, and blue. Okay, so let's check our color here. Let's go and look at our color really quick. Advanced picture settings. Color, honestly, see, this is what I was telling you guys. Everything that I just did here on my previous calibrating process with my own two eyes, I stayed within the standards of calibrating. So therefore, here's the proof to prove to you that the way I calibrated, it's within the standards with my own two eyes. And I didn't go above the threshold of the standard calibrating process. As you can see right here, when you click on the like color, you can move the color to 50. I mean, we could leave it at 50. Let's do that, but I feel that 55 is perfect. But let's leave it at 50. Let's leave the brightness at 55. Color at 50. Okay, let's see what else we got. Screen size, well, we already have, the screen's already adjusted perfectly. No reason for me to mess around with the screen size, so we'll leave the screen size as it is, like this. And adjust the brightness of your display until both rectangles have the same color. This is the HDR brightness. Let's see. HDR brightness. Let's keep it like at 50. Adjust the brightness of this display until the both rectangles have the same color. Let's move it all the way down. Let's move it all the way down. Oh, I see. Now we're good here. So let's leave it at 10. I don't know if you guys can see it, but here. You see it now? You see they have the same color right here. You see, this is what they're talking about. Like you cannot have it like this. It cannot be like this. It has to be bright like this. So I would leave it at 50, honestly. I would just leave it at 50. So now they both have the same color. $18, let me see, 19, 21, 22, 23. Honestly, I would leave it at 24. 24 seems to be reasonable. It has both colors. They're both peak brightness is equal here. Because here's what I was talking about earlier. People who use the dynamic contrast, and the idea of HDR is for you to see the detail on the bright, detailed scenes or levels in the game. That's the whole idea. Is for you to see that detail. The idea is not to have the peak brightness to the point where it destroys your white bright levels. And you see here, I'm not destroying my white bright levels. Here, let me move my low light. You will see it's exactly the same color. You see, same color on both ends. You see, like right here and right here, they're equally the same peak brightness, so that way we can see the detail. And it's kind of cool that that EA is doing this, so that we can enjoy that HDR peak brightness. All right, so let's go back here. The color looks good to me. The brightness here, let me adjust my low light right here so you can see it. It's good here. I wouldn't mess with it. Obviously, the brightness, we'll leave the brightness as it is, 55. So let's go back through this one more time. Let's just go check and see what we have. We have TV brightness bright, picture mode bright. We have backlit 100, contrast 100, and brightness at 55. And honestly, I would not go any more than 55. You can leave it at 50, but 55 here, this is what they recommend on this game, so I would leave it at 55. I wouldn't go above 55 in terms of brightness, honestly. I think this is good enough for the brightness. Sharpness, you leave it at 0. Honestly, there is no reason for you to mess around with the sharpness. Leave that thing at 0 because you already have an 84K. Color at 50. That's what they want. Remember, we're looking for not oversaturating. You see how everything it's equally balanced here? It's not being oversaturated where it's bleeding over one color from another. So it looks equally balanced. Now let's go down to color temperature. As you all know, I like to use my color temperature to normal. Okay, I don't like to mess around with my temperature to yellow, warm, or to cold, blue. I like to keep it in between. So that's what I'm using here pretty much. I highly recommend you guys go ahead and try this EA Sports calibrating process. Now, let's go back to the game and let's try it out a little bit, okay? So let's continue. Let's resume the match and let's see how it looks. Oh yeah, this is much better. I mean, yeah, it's much better now. There's more detail on the peak brightness here. You see much better. It looks better in many respects here because we have it calibrated good. Now, I don't know if I would agree with the brightness 55, but that's fine. That's what they recommend, but honestly, I wouldn't. I would leave it at 50. You see, this is why I like to use my own two eyes. And this is why sometimes I have an issue with the standard of calibrating process. Because sometimes these calibrating standards, they cannot tell what type of TV you have. They cannot tell what type of content you're watching, okay? So that, therefore, they don't know what your two eyes are seeing, okay? And this is why I like to use my own two eyes to do that, okay? So what I would do here, honestly, this is my opinion. Okay, I want you guys to check this out. Okay, how about this? Memorize this, keep watching this, and then memorize this, and then in about few seconds, check and see my calibrating process and just look at the difference between this standard and then mine. In about 2 seconds, 3 seconds actually. 1, 2, 3. And here, look at mine. You got a little bit better color. The brightness, it's not being too bright. So, brightness 50, color 55, it just looks better. But, as you can tell, I was close. You see, the way I calibrated was very close to the standard of professional calibrating process, which means I didn't go above the threshold that's considered a standard calibrating rules. But I did use my eyes, because your eyes, here's a trick. Your eyes know exactly what type of content you're watching. All right, the calibrating process doesn't know what type of TV you have, and it doesn't know what type of content you're watching, okay? It only goes by the program software that's built into it, and you have to go by that standard. Now, that standard doesn't mean it's going to make all your content look great, all right? This is why I use my own eyes, but at the same time, I stay within the calibrating standard, okay? Which means I'm not going above and beyond of that threshold. I stay within the threshold of calibrating standard. All right, and you can see it here as like a perfect example. The only thing I did here is I adjusted my peak brightness. All right, that's the only thing I did here on the calibrating. It's I adjusted my peak brightness. You know, I left it at 24. Now some of you would say, well, you could leave it at 50. Well, we could do that. I could leave it at 50. We can try that as well. Let's see. I think 50 could work. Let's try it at 50. Let's see. All right, I think 50, it's perfect. Honestly, 50, it's perfect. I would leave it at 50. I would do that. Leave it at 50. See, everything that's balanced in the middle, it's the best, because you're getting the you are getting the best possible peak brightness in the middle. And that's the whole idea of calibrating, honestly. It's the balance, the middle. Too much of peak brightness sometimes, not necessarily a good idea. So I would say keep everything at the middle when it comes to the HDR slider. I've seen people use the HDR slider all the way to the 100. I've seen people do that on Forza Horizon 3, and I'm like, what are you doing, man? Why would you keep that slider all the way to the 100? Then you're going to be crushing your white bright level detail. See here, I'm not crushing anything. This looks as clean as it can be here. Look at that. It looks as detailed as it can be. Here. Look at the shadow on that ball. I'm not losing any detail. You see that shadow? It's like a moon. See that shadow right here? Right here? You see? Keep an eye right here. See? You see that shadow? You can clearly see the shadow. Overshadowing the ball. Right here. And then right here. It looks great. And you get much better detail. See all this detail that you see of the grass and everything? That's because now we have the peak brightness at the slider peak brightness. We have it at 50. It's not all the way to the 100. If I was to move this to 100, we would lose this detail. We wouldn't be able to see this detail, okay, if I did that. So you don't want to crush your slider all the way to the 100, because you already have contrast and brightness of LED to the maximum, so you already have that peak brightness. Now the slider of HDR, moving it all the way to the maximum, it's just not a good idea. You're gonna be crushing the detail of the white bright levels. Okay, let me see. This looks great. Maybe I could move, hold on, let's try this. Let's leave the color at 55 and brightness at 52. At 55 as well. Let's go over here, let's try this. Because we already have the local dimming zones at high. Let's try this. 52. 53. Alright, 53 seems to be reasonable here. 53 brightness and color 55. Now let's check it out now. Let's check it now. Oh yeah. Now you see crowd and everything much better here. That looks much better. You see how you can see the grass, like the little white outline on the grass right here, and then you see green over here on this side. You see the white bright here, and then the green over here. You see it perfectly because. And you can even see the outline of the light, dynamic light from the stadium as well. So that looks great. Looks great. Looks fantastic. So I would definitely use 53 brightness, color 55, sharpness 0, of course, contrast and backlit to the maximum, and you're definitely going to enjoy it. But I highly recommend that you use the you can use two things. You can try my calibration here, and then you can use the EA Sports calibration, and you can determine which one you prefer the better. I think you'll probably like mine, because with mine you're getting a little bit of a better color, and you're getting that nice brightness detail. And also make sure you leave your HDR slider at 50. Don't leave your HDR slider at 100. If you do that, then you're gonna crush your white bright levels. Okay, here we go. Come on. Come on. There we go. Oh my God. How could you miss that, brother? Well, let's go through the instant replay. It's a shame that he missed it. I can't believe, Ronaldo, you missed it, man. How dare you miss it like that? Okay, let's zoom in a little bit more. Let's see. Oh man, he missed it. Oh no, that was a great goalie right there, man. He saved that thing really good. He saved it really good. I'm definitely going to take a snapshot of this. This is a great snapshot, so I'm going to take a picture of this. So here, let me show it to you one more time before the video ends. Right here. Make sure that your brightness is at 53 and your color at 55. Again, sharpness 0. Backlit and contrast has to be at 100, and also make sure that your HDR slider is at 50. Don't exceed your HDR slider to 100. If you exceed your HDR slider to maximum, then you're definitely going to crush your white bright levels and you're going to lose the detail. See, now here you see everything as it should be. Okay? You see in the distance, you can see the crowd in the distance and everything. This is like the perfect calibration right now for this FIFA 18 HDR game. And it really looks great now. It really does. So anyway, I'm going to take a snapshot of this. I'm going to put it to my Mr. 4K Upscaler Club on PlayStation 4. And make sure you use this. Check it out. Use both my settings and use the EA Sports calibration settings as well, and compare the two and let me know which one you think is the best. Alright, this is Mr. 4K Upscaler out, and I'll see you in my next video. Take it easy.